And now, more You Talk. Now,
it's You Talk Radio.
Woohoo!
Whoa! I love when I hear that You Talk Radio. The letter U. Oh, Larissa.
Oh, that's me.
Oh, that's you. That's Josh. You didn't do anything. You didn't.
Did you know you did this whooping?
Ooh. Oh. That's kind of a down lower kind of.
Well, yeah,
we can do woohoos in like harmony, right? Like,
yes, and that's almost like a. Is that like walking into the darkness, or there?
Sure.
All of that out there. Okay,
we'll take it.
Yeah, no, but it's daylight, so we can't talk about the darkness.
Okay.
Yeah. For once he's
on that
speechless.
note, Larissa, I don't know.
For once he's speechless.
Yeah. Well, it's that time of year. I say every time of year, like where people get sick, a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know, Katie, you in particular, have had some challenges this year. In fact, we have a viewer or audience, listener, depending on how they're consuming You Talk Radio.
That's right.
Yeah. They sent us a text, and I think you can probably help address this.
Okay.
Her name is Kristen, and she says, a lot of my friends are being diagnosed with chronic illnesses, which means they have something, maybe an illness that's not going away. It's something that they're living with, day in, day out. And it makes me sad because this is something they will be dealing with the rest of their lives. So what can I do to help them? And I don't know what specifically those chronic illness might be, but, it could be something like diabetes. It could be something like lupus or a heart condition or asthma,
Lots of different things, really, that people struggle with.
And Katie, I know you've been dealing with some stuff. Would you like to share a little bit so that maybe you can help Kristen?
Yeah, take us on your journey, Katie, or part of it anyway.
Well, I'm not going to get into everything, but I do have about a year and a half ago, diagnosed with my first chronic illness, and they've been finding more and more since then.
You have chronic illnesses.
Yeah, right? And it's kind of been a never-ending journey of, I've seen more hospitals and doctors in the last year and a half than I would prefer to. And sometimes I'm like, I don't even want to see you anymore. Like, I'm not even going to come. I'm just going to call you on the phone and tell you what's going on.
How many doctors do you know, really? Specialist doctors?
Do you really want me to say the list?
Yeah. Well, maybe you don't need to give us the list, but you give us the approximate number. Yeah.
At this point, it's about 30.
Oh,
yeah,
30 specialists and doctors?
In just the last year and a half. Wow.
In the last year and a half, yeah. I have
That's
teams.
Crazy.
I have teams at several different hospitals, and I have, my main doctors that I kind of see, all the time.
Like your phone is filled, your contact list is like your
favorite
list.
It's all like, I actually have to call them so much, or they call me, that I actually had to put all of their numbers in my phone.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
but keeping all of it straight, that's a big part of this challenge too. With general chronic illness and illness in general. It's hard to coordinate your own care and advocate for yourself.
It really is. It's funny because just the other night, I actually had the opportunity to go out for once because it's very hard. No, it really is really hard when you have a chronic illness, like to be able to have the strength or the energy or finally feel well enough to go out. And I had my planner with me because I had been to a doctor earlier that day, and my friend was like, "Oh, that's a nice planner." I was like, "Oh yeah, you can look at it." And she starts opening it, and it's all doctor, 3 doctors on this day, 1 doctor on this day, and like writing who they are, where they are. And she's like, "You really have to do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, because you have to keep track of it. It's very hard to keep track of all these doctors, and I don't even remember half of who I'm going to at that time." And like, I'm like, "Oh wait, what doctor am I going to today? Oh yeah, they're that doctor for that thing, and they're there." It's very hard.
And so, you're tenacious enough too, Katie, that you will stand up for yourself. You will advocate for yourself. You are able to organize all of that. That is a learned skill for a lot of people, and not everyone can do that. Yeah. So would it be fair, when we're talking like to Kristen, if she is able to help out with some of that potentially, if the friend wants that, of course. Yeah.
But, so when you have a chronic illness, it's like you don't want to talk about it. Because you're stigmatized. You have an illness, and it's people have the very wrong conceptions of it. It's like, I can't be near you because you're contagious. No, you're not. You're not contagious. You're not going to die. If I go out with you, I'm not going to die on the spot. You're not. No, because I've had friends say that. I can't go out with you because if there's an emergency, I'm not going to know what to do. And I'm like, no, it's okay.
Call 911.
Yeah. So,
speed dial into your phone.
You said, not everybody has that, and you need people around you. And I actually had to have, some friends, they knew like I was starting to isolate myself and not really talking, and they weren't sure what was going on. And finally they had to be like, what's going on? I'm like, well, you know, I'm sick and I don't really want to talk about it. And I'm like, no, you have to. You have to speak up for yourself. And like my doctors weren't believing me and taking me seriously. And my friends were like, you have to speak up for yourself. You have to say something's going on.
Yes.
You have to, you know, be your own advocate because you're not going to get anywhere. And finally, like, I got in fights with my doctors because they didn't believe me, and I left them when
and that's really
you know,
important. And having a loved one there, and it can be a friend, could be the loved one, to be able to come with you to an appointment, even probably just hearing what is the information and the advice going on, right? But also being able to corroborate. Yeah, I really see this too. Like, this isn't just Katie.
She's not imagining these things or anything else.
And you need that.
Yeah.
Like, that's something like
can be very powerful.
that you need from your friends or your people around you. And that's one piece of advice is, you know, have them like, yeah, I see it too. My friends didn't believe me until I actually had an episode when I was out with them, and it lasted 2 hours, and they had to take me, you know, to the hospital because it was like, wow, you're actually really sick, and we believe you now. So sometimes
It's
like,
not just in your head.
It's not in your head, and you need that. You need people to believe you. You need people to be there for you and say, yes, I've seen it, and stand up for you when someone's like, it's just all in your head, you're a hypochondriac, because I get that all the time. You're a hypochondriac, it's just in your head. And then you have these people, and they're like, no, I've seen it. She's really sick, or, you know, whoever Kristen's friends are, like, no, they're really sick, like, they actually have this condition.
Yeah.
And
you can live life still.
Yeah,
I mean, one
and
of the
you can
things.
live life,
You're,
yes.
you're Miss America. I messed it up too. Miss America
Miss American Diamonds, Dazzling Diamonds. So it's the national beauty title.
with multiple chronic illnesses.
Yeah.
How cool is that, actually? I mean, you can live life to combat some of the stigma.
And not just live, but out there making a difference, out there living.
You're doing You Talk Radio.
Yeah.
That's one of the things is like that I tell people, and because I have people all the time, you're too sick to go out. You're too sick to be. You should be on. I get it all the time. You should be on disability. You can't be working. You're too sick. And what I like to tell people, and they don't really like. It's like, oh wow, I didn't think about that. Is like like to tell them, like, I was in the hospital yesterday. I just want a night out to be normal. You just want to feel normal. So I keep working. I do things I like. Sometimes it takes everything out of me, and I can't do anything for the next week. But it's like you just want to feel normal.
Yeah.
So you push yourself in a good way, and where do you get that motivation from? I mean, because that just doesn't come out of the air.
No, I actually get asked that a lot, and my answer is it's God. Like, there's no other explanation, because I do not humanly have that power to be pushing myself that much. And sometimes, like, I'm in bed, I can't even move, I can't even function. And it's like, I got things to do. I got to get up. And it's like, it's God. Like, it's literally like the grace of God that, like, I can do anything at this point.
Well, and then getting that vision of this is what I want to be able to do to make a difference.
Right. Yeah.
Ultimately,
Right.
that can also give us emotional and physical energy.
Yeah.
Is that fair? I want to add into this conversation, since I'm the resident psychologist here, too.
Absolutely.
Yes, go for it.
You both had brought up that phrase that I've heard this from the health field. I
Okay.
won't name names, but the health field too. Of it's all in your head. My wife had some weird conditions early on that led us to adopt our first, and she ended up getting that. Well, it's just in your head. And whenever anybody says just, it usually is minimizing it
Right,
too,
right.
right?
Yeah.
But it's just in your head. It's just anxiety. I'm like, okay, again, I'm a psychologist. I got anxiety. That ain't anxiety. But, we throw that phrase out to kind of say, well, if it's just in your head, it's not real.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
But one,
Yes.
mental health and substance use is part of chronic illness.
Yeah.
One.
Okay.
And two, just because it's in your head doesn't mean it's not real. I mean, that we kind of throw away.
It's real to that person.
Yeah.
I am legitimately having that experience, even if it is hypochondria. You know what? That's a real legit thing.
Yeah.
And I am in pain, and it still needs treatment and help.
Yeah.
You can't just turn it off like that. It's
Okay, now since you're the resident psychologist, I'm going to go back in time because I have to ask you a question.
okay.
I have this fear I have for a long time of doctors. And I think it goes back to my very first doctor I can remember. His name was Schott. doctor shot. Okay, and in my little mind, all I could picture, when my mom would put my coat on, take me in there, is here's this human body with a syringe on top.
No kidding.
But the thing is, he never gave me a shot that I can remember. Yeah. It was always his nurse.
Always the nurses do. Yeah.
And so I had this fear, but can I get over that?
I don't know.
My mom had a doctor named Dr. Goodno, like no good, and he really was no good because she had 2 miscarriages before she had me, and then she switched doctors, and then she had me.
To the point, though, I think for how do we get over these kinds of things is, one, we leave the providers who are no good.
Yeah.
Sure.
And we get a new experience. This is where friends, back to Kristen's question, if you can have friends who don't stigmatize you, who are there and support you and help you feel normal again.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard that a lot from teens who had been recently psychiatrically hospitalized for self-injury. Biggest thing was to their family, to their friends, don't treat me differently. I'm still the same person.
Oh, so that's huge.
So,
that's huge.
How would you get over a doctor shot? Is you have a doctor no shot who's good and compassionate. I mean, in my
no
field,
pain doctor.
It's what we sometimes call a corrective emotional experience.
Okay,
you have a different experience that's positive that reshapes things and goes, okay, you know what? Maybe there's providers who are good. Maybe there's people who I can trust. Maybe there's friends who can come with me and support me. Ultimately,
yeah,
it's that community thing again.
It's a community, it's social support,
who care about you.
And for health providers too, we are part of that community.
Yes,
I mean, even to you got 30 folks on there. They provide support, and they may not always think about it, but if they can, even just that bedside manner makes a huge difference.
Oh, it does.
Right?
It really does.
You can tell that's what makes a good doctor from a no good doctor.
Oh, yeah.
It does.
And I do want to throw something else in there that, in my experience, because, when you're actually going through the illness, it helps to take your eyes off of yourself and put it on. I always tell people it could always be worse. I'm in the hospital, I had to have surgery, I had to have this. It could always be worse. And then I always turn it to, like you said earlier, making a difference, going out and helping somebody. Like, I was on bed rest for like a month. The day I got off bed rest, I went and volunteered because it got my eyes off myself and showed me that it could always be worse.
Well, and it's a way of creating your identity that's not defined by a chronic illness.
Yes.
It couldn't be very easy. I would say that's another thing for friends and loved ones is sometimes the language we use. I mean, I talk about this in mental illness a lot.
Right.
No, that's the schizophrenic. That's the depressed person.
Right. Like you're defined. You don't want to be defined by that.
That's the person with
by
schizophrenia. That's the person
She's the sick
with
girl.
lupus.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I am so much more than my chronic conditions. And I don't want to be defined by them. I think that's another piece to what you're saying.
Yes, yeah.
And friends, help them find an identity beyond it.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be defined by what's wrong with them.
No, exactly. I mean, there is so much more to you than just that.
And because we have the healthcare that we have today, we can live so much more beyond it. You can do all of these wonderful things with chronic illness.
Yeah.
Guys, great discussion. I mean, this is something we're going to have to talk about again. Hopefully, Katie, you will be beyond. You'll get rid of some of your chronic illnesses.
It'll be less chronic.
Less chronic. How's that? You're not
or
as
have them
chronic.
under control, so
right.
better.
Managing them better.
But it's an important topic, and it's one that we're going to have to revisit over and over and over again. And again, those You Talk is all about you talking to us. So those of you that are watching, listening, get a hold of us. That's why we're here. utalkradio.com. You can send us a text the word UTalk to 411-247. Reach out, social media, however you want to connect with us, please do so.
UTalk Radio.